It's time for another power-packed episode of Headspace with Dr. Mike. Each week, Dr. Mike is committed to addressing real life, sometimes polarizing and controversial issues, while offering practical and informed insight. Listen in as we discuss hot topics that matter to us and the communities we live in.
What's up, Headspacers? Good morning to you all. First of all, just want to give a big shout out to all of those who are joining us via social media on Saturday morning when we first record our session. And then I also want to definitely give some love to all of my podcasters literally all over the world who tune in when we podcast each week. Kevin, my brother from Denver, what's going on, man? Good to see you. So glad to see you here. Oh man, it's just excited about what I'm just excited about what God's doing in life, y'all. What God is doing. First of all, I just want to give a huge shout out to my coaches, Ryan and Leslie Bogash, because I got on the scale this morning and your boy has dipped into the 480 category. I am 486 this morning, which means that I have well over 70 pounds of weight loss since August 3rd. Yes. What's up, Jamal Calloway? Good to see you, man. So I'm just full of excitement. I am officially in fat burn, which means that I act like I've had an IV drip of coffee. All this energy that's going on, but I tell you what, it feels really good. I had a goal that I wanted. My first big goal was that I wanted to be able to say that I was 100 pounds down by the new year. I wanted to get down to 100 pounds down by the new year, and it looks like we're going to do that. And here's the other part of it. The next part of that was I wanted to get to my starting weight for Biggest Loser, which was 444, and 100 pounds from 552, I believe, is 452. So then another 10 pounds or so gets me under that 444 mark. So there's a very good possibility that by the time, thank y'all for the love. Oh man, I'm so glad that y'all, thank y'all. There's a very good possibility that I could enter 2022 a little lighter than I started Biggest Loser. And so that's exciting, y'all. But thank you all for your prayers and all that stuff, and just, being my tribe that encourages me through this. Oh man, all the love this morning. Good night. Y'all are up this morning. I think I know it's because you enjoy Headspace with Dr. Mike, but I also believe that some of y'all got word that we have a guest today who's agreed to serve as a guest co-host for this episode of Headspace with Dr. Mike. I've been wanting this to happen for a long time, partly because I just want to pay him back for the headache that he gave me through the years, because there was a young man who was a student that I recruited for Cedarville University like a blue chip athlete, and I didn't quite do it all right because there was some things I kind of messed up when it came to it, and he used to remind me of that every day about some things. But I tell you what, there was something I saw in him, the giftedness that I saw in him. There was something that I just knew when I met him. You just meet some folk, and when you see him, you just know, right? You just know. And this young man, I just knew. And guess what? Here we are, close to 20 years later, and I'm seeing that I was not wrong. So I want you to do me a favor and welcome to the stage, Brother Justin Spann. He is co-hosting for Headspace with Dr. Mike this morning. What's up, Justin?
What's up, Mike? Good morning, everyone. Good to be here. Very excited.
I'm so good. It's so glad to see you, man. Now, Justin, you are a worship pastor down in Orlando, Florida now, right?
Orlando, yes. Love
All
it
right,
here.
okay.
So, we got a little warm weather going on. It's not as warm as it usually is. So I got my long sleeves, but I don't want to brag because I know a lot of my friends and family are in Ohio shivering right now. So
So here's my question, because we're shivering here because it's like 40-something degrees. When you say it's not as warm as it usually is, Justin, what's the temperature down there?
Well, right now it's like 62 degrees. It's only going to get up to 70 today. which
Oh,
which for Florida, you know, you got to wear long sleeves when it dips below 70. So
so you've made the evolution. That's what. So you
yeah,
can understand something. This man is from Cleveland, Ohio.
that's
So
right, Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio, and you can talk about some 60 degrees is cold.
I still
Okay.
love Cleveland. I just don't go in the winter. I mean, you know, I'm done with it.
Man, you know what? I ain't even mad at you, man. 'Cause I made up my mind that I'm just getting too old for the cold, so I get it. I get it, man. You
Yes,
down there in Orlando? It's not just you though. Who
right.
else you living in Orlando with?
So my wife, Letice, and I have three kids, Jordan, Ethan, and Darian, and they have journeyed with us. We started in Ohio, so all of us are appreciating the change of weather. But you know, we miss our friends and family. But it's been a blessing to be here in Orlando, and I'm serving currently as a next gen worship pastor at Discovery Church.
Very good, man. Now, Letitia's special because not only were you one of my recruits from Cedarville, but she wasn't really a recruit because she kind of came with the package. I had to work hard on her sister and her brother, and so it was almost just a natural fit for her. But you met her in college as well, right?
Yes, I did. Well, I met her and chased her all through college, so it was a 4 year chase. But you
You
know,
know what they say.
I brought back the W. So
You got the W. That's right.
right.
Well, you know what? I think the world of both of y'all, and so you guys got to get to know Justin. Justin is extremely talented. We'll talk more about
Thank
some
you,
of the
sir.
things he did. But Justin, we'd like to do a segment in Headspace with Dr. Mike called Headnotes, and this is where we kind of just deal with some topics that are in the news, right? Just
Okay.
to make sure folks are informed on what's happening in life. One of the things that happened yesterday was we finally laid to rest Secretary Colin Powell. He
Yeah.
was one of the, for those that don't know, Colin Powell was the first African American to serve as Secretary of State. I think he was under the second George Bush administration, the younger George Bush,
Yes.
and he before that, like he had a very highly esteemed role within the military. He played different roles. I think with George W. Bush's father, he was the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I remember, I was in middle school when the first Iraqi war happened with, when they invaded Kuwait. And I remember that's when I first got to see who he was. But apparently, like, he had a huge resume even leading up to that point. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Very accomplished. Very accomplished. I think I'm trying to remember if it's a road or a building we have named after him in Cleveland. Colin
Oh,
Powell.
really?
Yeah. I can't
I guess
remember though, so
for
don't
some things then.
don't even try it. You don't want to go there.
Justin and I have a love-hate relationship with our cities because, of course, he's from Cleveland and I am from Baltimore. And so it's funny because Baltimore and Cleveland have a lot of similarities. And
True.
actually, to be honest with you, we make for good friends as a result of it, but we still have that good rivalry. So it's kind of funny. So we had that. We also had a situation where Queen Elizabeth is kind of monitoring some things because it looks like the Queen is not doing so well. The doctor has put her on bed rest for a couple of weeks.
Yes, that's what I read. It was one of those things where at first I got immediately like, oh no, she must be sick. And then I realized that she's 95 years old. And so at some point, I think it's time for the people of the UK to just start bracing themselves
Yeah.
for that time. So,
Well, and I mean, she just lost her husband. Her husband died short of 100 years old, right?
yeah, yeah,
And you know what they say, and I mean, I don't necessarily know that this is a hard and fast rule, but even the Queen of England, I'm sure, goes through some of that. A lot of times they say when you lose your spouse, especially for a spouse of that long, that also takes a toll on you as well. And so I wonder if that's something that there's a part of her that just has a broken heart,
absolutely. I mean, when you've been married as long as they have, two become one, so it's like losing half of yourself already.
Look, I already know that Sharella has to live forever because that's just not going to work.
Right? Lord, let me go first. I say that
what
all
I'm
the
saying.
time.
Now, I'm not in a rush to go. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's right. That's right.
Not in a rush to go, but
That's right. That's true. But just when the time comes, I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my ticket first.
yep, I'm gonna have to do that. So you and I like really have a love for the arts, right? We got that
Yes.
arts thing. Matter of fact, I was talking about you actually in your high school used to produce like musicals of different types, and there was one particular musical that he did for Easter because he went to a Christian high school, and I was there. I just was a little
Yes.
late. I kind of got
You
there.
got there after intermission, I believe.
Look how you see how you pointed that out. He knew exactly when I got there, whatever.
You know. I mean, I wasn't gonna bring it up. You brought it up, so you opened the door.
But needless to say, like you've done because before you moved to Florida, you were in Denver, right?
Yes. Yes. Denver,
And
Colorado.
you have a little theater resume to yourself, don't you?
I got a little theater resume. Oh yeah, I enjoyed being a part of the theater community in Denver. One of my favorite memories was playing Jimmy Early in Dreamgirls, and so I'm still riding high on that experience. That Jimmy Early was like that's my alias now. I feel connected,
Uh-oh.
so
Well,
watch
hopefully
out.
you feel connected in some ways, but not all. Because
He was troubled. He was troubled, but that's okay. That's being an artist,
yeah, Jimmy Early.
Jimmy
So
Early,
so you have a love for theater just as much as I do, and
absolutely.
really excited. We know because of COVID, Broadway kind of shut down. I mean, like everything shut down. Broadway is really exciting right now because the fall season is filled with some history. History's being made because apparently there are 7 new plays by Black playwrights
That's awesome.
scheduled for the fall,
That is awesome.
and I think that's great. And of those seven Black new plays, 5 of those Black playwrights, this is their first go at Broadway.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
That's one of the benefits of COVID. We talk so much about all the things we lost, but in a lot of ways, it was a reset. Giving opportunity to new artists, and people are recognizing the importance of representation. So I'm excited to see what comes of it.
I am, man. Like, and I'm looking at the list. Like, there's one called Passover, written by Antoinette Shinoye Nwandu. Chicken and Biscuits, written by Douglas Lyons, and Lackawanna Blues. Of course, we're familiar with that story.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Ruben Santiago Hudson. Thoughts of a Colored Man. I think that's one of the first ones I'm going to try to see. I know
Okay.
that I'm a reality TV show guy,
Yes.
and Real Housewives of Atlanta, Candy Barris, kind of is one of the executive producers on that.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
and I was watching something the other day where, what's his name? Oh shoot, he's playing in he was in Little, and
Okay.
Keith David James, I think that's his name or something like that.
Okay.
He did a little rendition of something that he does in that play, and I was like, oh man, the music is excellent. So I'm really excited about Thoughts of a Colored Man.
Okay.
There's another one called Trouble in Mind. There's Clyde's, and then Skeleton Crew. And this also Skeleton Crew is also directed by the same person that is directing Lackawanna Blues. So man, I am pumped. This is a great time.
Absolutely.
See what happens in Broadway. So
Well, you're a lot closer to New York than I am, so you'll have to report back how they are, because it'll be a while before it gets to Orlando.
yeah, that's true. It will be a while. Yeah, well, I don't know. Y'all are in Mickey. You're in Mickey country. So
That's true. I mean, anything Disney, we get first, so I can't complain. But
all right, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and pay a quick bill, Crystal, and then we're going to come back with my heads up. 2020 gave birth to a lot of endeavors. Here in 2021, everyone has had to get in touch with their inner producer. Our man Garrett Brace is one of those guys you need on your team. We at Headspace with Dr. Mike are clients of his, as he ensures all of our audio files are crisp, clean, and cool. If you have any audio, video, and even lighting needs, hit him up at G Walt Services on Instagram. Remember, G Walt Services, servicing all your audio, video, and lighting needs. So today, when we're talking about my heads up, one of the thoughts I was going down memory lane, because this time of year, back in my former days, was when I would hit the road as a college and high school speaker, because it was the beginning of the school year. A lot of times the school administrators wanted to get their students off to the right path. And some of the programs that we did, we always had a line in it that asked the question, what is the most valuable, or what was the most valuable asset? And of course, many people would just always say money. That's kind of the obvious. And I always used to love the next line of that, because I would say, no, it is not money, but it's time. Time is your most valuable asset. And of course, they would look at me kind of like, I don't know about that. But then I had to start building a case for it, because what you started realizing is that with money, you can always get more of it. You can always make more, and not even in the sense of like, the country can print money, right? But just there's always something that you can do to actually get more money. But I can't manufacture more time, right? As a matter of fact, we get 168 hours in a week, and that's it. Like once those 168 hours are gone, guess what? The week is over, and we've moved on to the next week. I was just talking to Crystal, our producer, and we were just talking about how 2021 is gone. Like here we are we just finished the first week of November, and so time keeps on slipping away into the future. but nonetheless, yes, and that you can never get your time back. I can try, but I'm not going to. I was just reminded a little earlier that here in Maryland, we are falling back tonight. Now, I'm excited about that extra hour that I'm going to get, but chances are I'm probably going to stay up a little longer today, because I know that I got that extra hour, right? And then I'm going to be groggy for the next few days, because just my time is just going to be, just kind of be crazy. And at the end of the day, we can't get our time back. And so one of the challenges I want to give you all is the idea of making sure you spend time like it's money, right? You spend time like it's money. Spending time like it's money is a great philosophy that I kind of have been learning along the way. I was teaching it for the longest time, but then I had to start applying it for my own self. And one of the things that, you just want to start thinking about, I look back to some of the, what happened during COVID. We were having a conversation a little earlier about what some of the benefits of COVID has been in that period of being able to be put in a place of reset. But I also remember that during the period of COVID, things had shut down so much so that I actually had time to do some other projects. Like, for instance, the time that I would have to spend, here in Baltimore, the traffic, especially at certain times of day, can be horrible, right? Well, guess what? I didn't have to go anywhere. And so I already got back, 2 hours of the day that would be usually spent in my commute. I was teaching college, and I didn't have to go to the class. I was doing it online. So instead of having to do the hour-long, back and forth to the class, not to mention being in the class for 2+ hours, I actually didn't have that to worry about, right? And then just in general, meetings that we had at church, there's a point where we weren't even having certain meetings at church. We weren't having certain rehearsals and all that stuff. And I had all this time, and I was like, man, I want to do this, and some things I did do. For instance, I had Bible study on Wednesday nights, which was awesome, was incredible. Starting Headspace with Dr. Mike was something that happened as a result of that extra piece of time, right? But then I look back and think about some other things that I was supposed to get done that I just procrastinated about, and I didn't really spend the time. And now I'm finding myself almost back in the rat race that I was in before COVID started. How many of y'all are there? You've been there too. You're like, man, I had all this time that I could have done something with, and in the moment I didn't appreciate it like I would have or could have. And now I'm finding myself in a situation where I'm kind of wishing I could go back and I could kind of do it all over again, right? That's because for so many pieces of that, I didn't really fully embrace the concept of spending time like it was money. A lot of times you look at it, there are times where when you start, depending on where I'm at in my finances, $20, I can kind of, $20, we use $20 before we realize it, without even realizing it sometimes. $20 goes by pretty quickly. But there are other times where when things are tight, it's like that $20, I really have to manage it, right? Question is, what are you doing with your time? There are times where, we spend our time kind of freely. We kind of sit around and we just kind of lackadaisical about things, or we're not necessarily being as intentional about some things. Then there are other times where it's like, you know what, I need to make sure I make good use of this time. I was thinking about the other day at work, with work, because I'm still for the most part working virtually. And I was thinking about how there was a project that I knew that I had to get done. I've known about it for 2 months, right? I knew for 2 months solid that I had to do it and get it done. But yet again, I found myself, and Justin, our guest host for the day, he remembered because I was talking to him one night when I was working on one of them, where because you're saying that I was going to take some time today to get better organized and finish a project I started a couple months. Listen, to that, the struggle is real. Yep, the struggle is real. I found myself the night before having to deliver this project. I was up till about 6 a.m. working on it. And I reflected on the fact that, you know what, I did not make the best use of my time leading up to this moment. But then there were a couple times where I was looking back, and because I had really gotten myself organized and really was very intentional and specific about it, that I found myself the night before sitting back saying, I feel like I need to be doing something else, because I'm so used to always rushing and procrastinating and getting things done at the last minute, that it felt weird. It felt weird because it was like, wait a minute, like I'm done, like it's actually done, like I really could do it, and it felt really good. And I made a promise to myself that the more opportunity I get to do things like that, the better off it's going to be, because it actually in the long run gives you a better quality of life. You know, I was able to use some of that time to catch up on some TV shows with the family. Like we actually were able to kind of hang out a little bit longer with something. And we actually were able to do something that I wouldn't have been able to do because I would have been stuck here in my home office working on something while the rest of the family was having big fun in the living room without me. So needless to say, I want you all to be challenged to think about, how can I make sure I'm spending time like it's money? And that's my heads up for the day.
Follow the Headspace with Dr. Mike show on all social media platforms at Headspace DM. We want to keep you up to date on all of our hot topics and keep the dialogue going even after the show. We also value what's important to you and your community. DM your show ideas to us on Instagram or Facebook. The next time you log on, you may hear Dr. Mike discussing the very topic or issue close to your heart.
Time keeps on slipping
Slipping.
into the future. Ooh.
All right, you better sing. I'm proud of you for knowing the words.
Oh, see how he does me, y'all. See how he does me. That's the kind of relationship we have. I am known for like messing up some words to a song. I will mess up the words. I'll mess up the key. It's a whole.
That's all right though. You make a joyful noise.
All right, Justin, keep it up. We about to mute you now. So, one of the things that has been fun for me, the journey that has been fun for me to watch, and I mean, you're not that much younger than me, so it's like I said, you're more like a little brother as opposed to I'd be your uncle or something like that. Like we have a brotherly relationship. Y'all, I'm serious, because we fight like brothers too. It's kind of funny. But one of the things that has been a joy to watch is this whole realm of fatherhood, right? This realm of fatherhood. It's been just kind of fun to watch. Justin, your oldest is about what, maybe a few months older than little Mike.
Yep.
And then of course you have two younger boys. How much of years apart are each of them from each other?
They're all 2 years apart.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So you have like that 6-year gap between the oldest and the youngest.
4. So 6, 8, and 10.
Oops, wait a minute. I got to do my math right. Y'all was a communications major, not a math major. All right. So talk to me a little bit about, because you have this thing that you do on Facebook called Stuff Jordan Says, and Jordan is the oldest. And what's funny is he tells these stories about Jordan. Y'all, I laugh because some of the stuff that she puts him through are some of the things that this little dude put me through when I was, working at Cedarville and he was a student. Just the ups and downs that I had to go to. But talk to us a little bit just about some of that, like just The fact that
Well, the truth is, first of all, being a father is one of the greatest joys of my life. But as far as what you're talking about with Jordan, I tell people I think that is just evidence that black people are really good at giving curses. Why do I say that? Because when I was a kid, my grandmother and my mother used to always say, I'm just praying that God gives you kids just like you. And you hear that and you don't think anything of it as a kid. You're just like, whatever. And then you have kids and you get yourself back times three. And there's nothing you can do but laugh. The funniest part about being a parent is the times where you have to pretend to be upset when really you are cracking up on the inside. Because the stuff that they're saying and doing is just so funny.
man,
Like,
it's hilarious, isn't it? It's
oh
times
man.
they'll do something and you're sitting there looking at them like, this really made sense to you, didn't it? And it did.
It
And then
did.
you want to roll. Like you actually just want to say, yeah, it's kind of funny.
Right. And then
But
you want to give them you wanted to give them the truth, but then you remember they're only 10. You can only give them so much.
yeah.
It's like, I want to tell you why this doesn't make sense, but you're not ready for that. You're not ready to receive it.
Give us a funny story. What's one funny story lately that she may have done, or maybe one of your other boys did that is kind of funny.
Well, number one, to me, it's what's funny is that they don't know that you can tell when they're lying. And it makes me think about how when we were kids and we thought we had the perfect story cocked up, we would tell our parents and then we would be surprised when they figured out the truth. And now I'm an adult and I'm listening to them, they're telling me stuff and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I knew you were lying before you opened your mouth. That's the first part. And then the second thing is they think they can do everything. My daughter told me she was upset with us because she couldn't do something. So she packed a bag and she said, I'm going to move out. And she was, I think she was expecting me to stop her. I said, okay, well, where are you staying tonight? I mean, where are you going to sleep? And she looked at me and said, because you don't have any money. And then she said, well, you're not going to give me any money? I said, even if I give you money, what you going to eat? So I said, and how you going to get to the place where you're going to sleep? You going to walk? Because I don't see no hotels around here. And she's just looking at me. I said, so I estimate that if you do run away, one or two things is going to happen. Either we'll never find you again. I said, something bad is going to happen to you. I said, or you'll be back in a half an hour. I said, so you make the decision, And she looked at me and she stomped up the stairs back to her room. And this is why. It's because I'm an adult. I know the realities of life. You don't. And it's funny because you think you do. I love you. I'm just telling you, you're not going to make it on your own, dear. Stick with me a few more years. Give me 8 more years to try to get you ready.
I was joking with somebody the other day about Mike because it's just there are days. Do you find that some days you look at them and maybe this is more the boys? Are there days where you can see when it's about to click that they're going to do something and it's like a perfect there's Mike the other day just flicked a rubber band at me. I really thought that was he thought that was good, and it was like I could actually see in his mind. You know how in the cartoons when the light bulb goes off, I feel like I saw it when it was like, yeah, Mike. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Or when you tell them don't touch something, and instead of just their face letting you know that they received it and they're not going to touch it, you can see them thinking, I still want to touch it.
Yeah.
If I touch it, what's he going to do? And you can see them just weighing it, and you be looking at them like, okay, you finna test me. You want to test me? Okay. And you just wait. I'm not even going to warn you because I'm kind of excited to see what you're going to decide.
That's right. That's right. Listen, there was one day, one of the things we always say, don't touch the TVs. There's things in our house that if they break, they break. I'm not as in our shape. The TVs, I think that's just a part of. I just think that's a part of the test that comes along with the testosterone package. It's just somehow the TVs are just that's just
What are expensive to replace?
Well, exactly. And yeah. And so it's funny because you say things like don't touch the TVs, like the screen. And I didn't touch it, but you see fingerprints. Like why?
Right, I can see your fingerprints. They're literally Cheerios stuck to the TV. You gonna tell me you didn't touch it?
Mike just last night, he was taking a pencil and he was getting ready to. I said, "Don't do that." And I can't be too mad at them because I know they all types of confused because there's these touch screens out there now. We have some touch screens where you're touching. I know they probably really are a little confused.
Right? Like, how come I can touch this one but not that one?
Yeah, I think they are just a little confused, and I can respect that and I can appreciate that. That's why I do let the fingerprints kind of go. But I sat up there and watched him with the Chevelle says, I am. I just am.
I get it. I do the same thing.
And so he was with a pencil and he was I said, don't poke the TV. And he was like, I did. I said, you poked it. He said, I didn't. I said, Mike, I see the point of the pencil.
I'm sitting here watching you. You think I'm blind? I'm sitting here watching you. Or when you come in the room, this is the thing that gets me. You come in the room and they jump back and look at you and they say, I wasn't touching it. It's like, you didn't have to say anything because I didn't see you touching it. Now I know you were touching it. Now I know.
But they're brutally honest too. Like, they are really brutally honest. Like, there was one, and it's funny because I am convinced that we were kind of abused growing up. We kind of were. Like, I think there's some things that we probably do need to go a little back to, but I think we were a little abused because this was a few months ago. We're sitting in the kitchen, and I'm trying to teach Mike about the importance of cleaning off, doing chores around the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And cleaning off the table. And so, it was one of those days where I said, all right, clean off your mom's plate, take your plate to the dishwasher and stuff like that. And then mine. So he was looking like really just in his feelings. Like, he was really in a way, Justin. He was in a way. And I said, what's wrong with you? He said, I just don't understand. I said, what is it you don't understand? He said, you and mommy could have taken your plate. He said, I said, well, what do you mean? He said, you make me do everything. And you and mommy could have taken it. I just don't understand why you and mommy couldn't take your plate. I said, well, we had to get it cleaned up. He said, well, I cleaned my plate off. And just one of those moments that I realized, growing up, I definitely would have got popped at that point. Like, and it was one of those things where in my moment, it was one of those, I almost felt like I heard that I had the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And I heard the devil saying, so you gonna let him punk you like that? Like, you gonna let him punk you like that? Like, I'm sitting there like, I think as a father, I'm supposed to respond to this. But then I had the angel saying he really is trying to understand. And it was one of those moments that I just had to sit back and realize he didn't mean anything by that. He really was trying to understand what was happening. Like, it wasn't registering to him that he needed to, but Justin, it was a struggle for a minute.
No. Because it's like, wait, you questioning me?
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. I'll tell you something that has helped me. What I've started telling my kids is, if you want to understand something, that's fine. Ask your questions, but do what I asked you first. Because the problem is, if I ask you to do something and you start giving me all these questions, in my mind, and I told them, in my parent mind, I'm thinking you trying to get out of doing what I asked you to do. Mm-hmm. So go do what I asked you to do, and then come back and I'll be happy to explain it to you.
I like that.
You know what I mean? But until you do it, I'm sitting here thinking all I'm hearing is excuses why you're not doing what I told you what to do. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm seeing it. And Justin, I'm the other piece of it. We were talking a little bit about this because your daughter, my son are they're getting on the verge of the pubescent years, right?
Yes.
I'm not looking forward to it. Like, he's starting to get a little dark under his nose.
Okay.
And I was looking up at it, and then it was funny, and I'm not trying to be funny or nothing, but the other day I said, I don't think I'm ready for the day when we find out he got hair. And know what I'm talking about. Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, I know exactly.
I guess what the little I'm about to call him something else. Guess what the little dude said to me?
What?
He said, there is some. Yeah. Like, apparently during his last physical, the doctor told Chevelle he's starting to show traces of some hair.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's the thing. Well, and what kills me is you in your mind. I remember that happening when I was older. I feel like it happens so much younger now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you can't be starting this already. My daughter is her role model now is Beyonce.
Oh Lord.
And I love Beyonce. Don't get me wrong. I she's a great entertainer and all that. But at 10 years old, I'm just not sure I want that to be who you're aspiring to be. She comes out dressed for school. I'm like, oh no, where you think you're going in that? It's time for you to change. But I look like Beyonce. Beyonce isn't in the 5th grade. You need to go put something else on. You know what I mean? Just think they grown already.
That's why I'm glad now. That's one thing I am thankful for, that he has a uniform that he has to wear, because I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready for that. Like, just.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing I'm not looking forward to is the day when he decides that he wants to, he's a man.
Oh, my grandmother called it smelling yourself, when they start
Yes.
smelling themselves.
Because I remember when he was a little younger, he balled his little fist up one day, and I looked at him, and it was like something clicked. I said,
Right.
"Is this what we doing right now?"
I know you're not thinking about hitting me. I just know that's not what you're thinking.
He balled that little fist. That was a few years ago. He balled that little fist up, and I like stepped back. I was like,
You're like, you squaring up on me?
but I do tell folk that it's a rite of passage.
It is.
And there was a day I thought I was bigger and badder than Dwayne Allen. I did. I thought I was bigger and badder. He made it very clear I wasn't. To the point that even today I would never even think about it. So it's going to happen.
Yeah, and it makes you grateful to your parents. I know I got so many good one-liners, and I'll say something now, and it's like I can hear my mother's voice in my head. Because that happened to me too. I felt like my son was squaring up on me, and I said, "All right," I said, "Don't let your mouth write a check your butt can't cash." And he looked at me because he didn't know what that meant, but I was like, "You ready? Is this where we going?"
And that said, wait till they become terror ragers. Teenagers don't know them. I'm just not looking forward to it in that. I'm just, although I don't necessarily think that I was a horrible teenager. I don't think my mom is on here somewhere, so hopefully she can attest. I don't think I was awful. But I do. There are times where I have to ask Sharella, because like you, I do ascribe under the thing that God gives us exactly what we put out. And so,
yes,
if he becomes a terror, I'm gonna blame it on Sharella. So, on that note, let's go ahead and take a quick break.
Our world is filled with polarizing topics that land most people on one side or the other. The Headspace with Dr. Mike team isn't afraid to take them on. Monthly, we will invite people on both sides of some of the most controversial topics, from the serious to the silly, to debate their positions. We look forward to charged discussions that will inform and entertain. DM your head-to-head show ideas to us on Instagram or Facebook at Headspace DM.
So there's a group of us, Justin. We, I think I've talked about this on the show, because we've had Bree's been Brianna Dupree, Pastor yes. Brianna Dupree,
Pastor, Elder.
Oh, Shavella's talking some trash now. She said, "We know better." She's been on here as a guest host too, and there is a group of us. These happen to be, you actually served as their mentor through the course of their experience in college, and it just so happened. Oh, we love you too, Bree. It just so happened that they allowed this old man to be a part of their conversations, and we actually started a Marco Polo thread. So those that don't have the Marco Polo app, you need to get it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I think I love it a little too much sometimes. But anyway, there's 5 of us on here, on there. Sean, Darius, Brianna, Justin, and myself. And it's just great, because there are times when we'll just get on there and just start cutting up. We'll kind of be a little petty about things. Justin, Bree, and Sean don't play as much with the petty as Darius and I do. Darius and I do. I think we have that light skin thing going on, where we get a little extra. But anyway, we do something. Sometimes we're talking about serious stuff. Sometimes we're talking about not so serious stuff. Sometimes we it's a little bit of both, right? We have actually, through those threads, have seen each other through like just some dark moments in our lives, and then of course we don't just do everything on it. There are times where it's like, all right, let me pick up the phone. Justin, what's really going on? I think sometimes I even call Brianna up, Darius up, Sean. They've called me up, say, hey, I'm taking this offline. What's really going on? Blah blah blah. But one of the things that we've kind of really been talking about is lately and Justin, you and I both are in the ministry arena, right?
Yes.
You're more the musical side of things,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I'm more like the speaker, presenter side of things. And there's this conversation that's being had about what is entertainment and what is ministry, and finding that balance between the two.
Absolutely.
And I think that because there is, it's funny because when you start looking at the scriptures, the culture of the church then is just, I mean, it's many ways is different. There's some similarities, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, you have the adversity to the gospel message, right? That does exist. I mean, it just looks different, in different parts of the world. But like the idea of, church buildings and, back during the early church, they were meeting in homes, right?
Yeah.
But the times were different because, a lot of times they had to meet at home because they had to do it in secret, right?
Absolutely.
But then now we're in a situation where we have these monoliths, we have these cathedrals, we have these big, some churches are arenas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get those things done, it costs money, right? Yeah. I remember when I first saw Bishop Jakes speak outside of like one of his conferences, and how there was a line for 3 hours just so people could actually get in. Like remember back in Ohio, man, Solid Rock, there was traffic for miles on the service that Bishop Jakes would come to. And one of the things he actually said was, I know how expensive it is to bring me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a little, because you and I both come from very
because he's not cheap.
No. And he would say that though, and then you take this huge offering, right? And there's different. I'm not here to kind of because I think what Bishop Jakes does, I get it. And one of the things about it is, you got to recognize that there's these preachers, from me being on the speaker side, that's their livelihood. Like you got to trust that, they're going to get paid, and for whatever reason, sometimes we feel that because a person is doing church ministry, that they don't have needs that need to be met. They gotta, they can't do that. So the question has come up is like, how do you make that differentiation between entertainment and ministry?
Well,
and
I think there's places where it crosses over, and that's not a bad thing. I think the first problem is we have to just be able to separate the two. Bishop Jakes, I actually was thinking about your Heads Up, Yes, he's a pastor, but he's also a husband, a father. And so when he takes time out of his schedule, because to come to Ohio and do a concert and all those things, there needs to be compensation for that. But when I think of entertainment versus ministry, I more think about, so for example, for a long time, we've had Christian comedians, we have Christian movies. For me, the aha moment was when I was a kid. I used to watch Touched by an Angel with my grandmother, and because it was a Christian show, I thought of it as a ministry until there was an episode where something happened that wasn't quite biblical, and then as I got a little older, I saw Harlem Nights, and I said, "Wait, Della Reese, the angel from Touched by an Angel, this is her." And that's what my grandmother said to me, "Justin, this isn't a church; it's a TV show." And acknowledging that the goal of Touched by an Angel wasn't ministry. It doesn't mean it can't minister to you. Mm-hmm. Black Panther ministered to me, but that doesn't mean that Marvel is a ministry. It's entertainment. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great that we have more and more, especially with social media, we have more and more Christian entertainers rising to the surface, so that we have content that we can enjoy. But it gets muddy when we start looking at them as a ministry and then their actions don't line up with what we think ministers of the gospel are called to do. And so just being able to identify them as they're Christian entertainers, not ministers of the gospel. And I think once you make that separation, it's a lot easier to just embrace their art, because ministering the gospel is not necessarily their number one goal. Providing wholesome entertainment for Christian viewers is their goal.
Justin, that's a good point. And I remember us having that conversation and about that, because I think I think I was the one that even said something about, this guy has a great ministry. And you kind of pointed out that whole concept of, he's a Christian entertainer, but is it, and you didn't say this, but what I took from it was, is it really fair to assert that he's doing ministry and to actually hold him under the same dispensation as a person who is doing ministry, right? And I
Absolutely.
think I think that's a great point. I think that is so true.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
and
why
it's
a person like Let Us See, a person like Fantasia can at their concerts where they're clearly singing secular music, right? Secular music,
mhm,
they can go into a gospel set, right? Because
absolutely.
yeah,
And at that point, they can minister the gospel. I think anyone who is a Christian or a follower of Christ, we're called to minister the gospel, but that doesn't mean that all of Lettucey or Fantasia's their brand is a ministry. They might take some time within their entertainment to do ministry, but they're not a ministry. They're entertainers. And to me, another big separation is what drives you. As a minister of the gospel, I'm called to preach the truth, whether you like it or not. The amount of likes I get or clicks or shares doesn't drive ministry, you know. But in entertainment, it's about what people like. It's about what people respond to. It's about what people buy. And ultimately, I don't think there's anything wrong with that being a goal. If you're an entertainer, you seek out to entertain people. But I think what's dangerous is when we start blending the two together, because I think a lot of people have been let down by what they were perceiving to be ministers. And they were never ministers in the first place. They didn't wake up in the morning and think, how can I minister to you? They woke up and thought, how can I make money making you laugh or making you cry, entertaining you.
you bring up some good insight, and you're actually getting some good feedback in social media because I think that that's a good conversation. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, I really want to dig a little deeper into that role, especially we established this whole yes, I'm an entertainer who possibly ministers. But then let's talk a little bit about that role of a person who does minister. What are the rules of that, right?
Mm.
What are the rules that go along with that? So let's take a quick break, Crystal, and then we'll come back and kind of dig into that before we close out.
Focused on photo, versed in video, For Any Media brings visions to life from headshots to family shoots, casual candids to structured scenes. Our team can provide whatever you need. In Baltimore, you may have seen us at local events such as the Poly City Tailgate or the Randallstown Romp. You can find us on all social media platforms at the number 4 Any Media. For Any Media, for anything. Contact us so we can create.
So that there is this thing out there where the question becomes, where is that balance? Like for instance, you and I hands down, and I've been to quite a few praise and worship conferences. I have to say that when we've been to praise and worship conferences together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We laughed about one particular one where I almost jumped off the balcony.
Oh yes, I remember that very well. I was praying for strength. I was holding on to the back of your shirt, saying, "Lord, don't let him fall over this balcony."
All I know, y'all, was it was necessary. It was necessary. My God. I digress a little bit. See, this really get me offended. But what's funny? So Justin and I went to one of the Gospel Heritage. They used to do this praise and worship. I think they still do a variation of it now. But it was back in when it was like at the fort, like it was one of the premier events to go to. Yeah. And I personally think the mistake they made was when they moved it out of Atlanta. I think Atlanta was just perfect because it gave the right balance because it was in February when most of the country was cold, but it was decent weather. It was like springtime. It felt like springtime in Atlanta. Yeah. And then it was my opinion.
Well, and gospel music appeals to Black people, and Atlanta is where you find them. I mean,
you found it, right?
Let's be real.
And so this particular year, it happened to be in DC, and I had just gone through something devastating. Like it was pretty devastating. I was really just going through, and they were doing the recording. There was a recording that they produced every year, and there was a song that they did. It was necessary, and for years I had been looking for that song because I don't think that recording ever came out. And then one particular day, I was watching a video clip from a Fantasia concert. And guess what? She actually did a variation of that song.
Yep.
And it just brought, it stirred up memories in me, but it really kind of got, because there are times where you think about that. And so anyway, at that particular time when they were doing that song, I was having a Baptist fit because I
Oh
was
yes.
through and just
Oh yes. Oh yes. They said she's the well. See, back then it wasn't Fantasia. I think I can't remember the name of the group. The guy who wrote it, maybe it was Isaac Hayes, and not Isaac Hayes, Isaac Simpson. Isaac
It
Hayes
wasn't
is
him. It was
Isaac
another
Hayes.
guy.
It wasn't Isaac Simpson, but it was one of those. Yeah, and the song said, "I am who I am today because God used my mistakes,"
Mistake.
and you started leaning back. And it's funny because you're not even Baptist technically, but as a Baptist, I recognize a good Baptist fit coming on when I see it. And I said, "Oh Lord, here we go." And then she said, "He worked it for my good, like no one else ever could." And you're leaning back, started leaning forward, and we was on the front row of the balcony. And your body was leaned all the way perpendicular to that balcony. And I just grabbed the back of your shirt and started praying. I said, Mike is going to ruin this whole recording. This recording is going to be ruined.
I fell off the balcony.
If you fell off the balcony in the middle of that song, that would have been the end of the recording. Oh gosh!
It was that good old Reed Temple here in the outskirts of DC.
Yes,
the DMV, man. It was a good time, but anyway, I guess that yeah, it was necessary. That's the gist of it. One of the things that was thinking about with this whole idea of entertainment versus ministry, and you brought up some great insight about that piece of just making sure we're making that differentiation. Mark Moore, what's up, Mark? He said, if you're doing praise and worship with the goal of generating money, is that the same as selling tainted animals in the temple for profit? Is your worship authentic? That's a good question. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Justin? I mean, you are a worship pastor. Like that's what you actually do for a profession.
Yes.
What would you respond to that?
Well, I think number one, the Bible makes it very clear that only God can judge the heart. So I think we have to be careful. Just because a person makes money doing something doesn't necessarily mean that's their goal. And so I would say that if a person's number one goal for doing worship or anything is to generate money, then I don't know if I would say it's the same as selling tainted animals, but I would say then their act is not one of worship, it's one of enterprise. However, that doesn't mean enterprise is a bad thing, because in their enterprise, they are generating genuine worship from those who are responding to it. And so I think like I said, I think there's a balance. In the Bible days, there were people, they were going and being entertained by going to the Colosseum and watching lions rip people apart. And I'm sure at that time there were Christians who didn't want to do that, but they were looking for some kind of viable entertainment that was edifying, maybe even encouraging, pointing them to the Lord. And so for our artists that are creating plays and songs and things that are doing that, I don't think we should look down on their offering just because it generates income. But I do think that's why the Bible makes it clear God's looking at their heart, and we can't really know what's in their heart. I think sometimes their actions betray their hearts, and sometimes it shows that they're really about ministry, and sometimes it shows that they are really not. But until those times come, all we can do is check our own heart, and I think we can also look for fruit. We talk about that a lot on our Marco Polo thread, don't we, Mike, as far as like, Bible says, a tree by its fruit. So let's look at your fruit. I don't care how good you sing. What kind of fruit are you producing? And I think that's really where the separation line comes from. But for me, as a Christian, I love having things to sit down and watch with my family that are made by Christian entertainers that we can enjoy. And so I would want to be cautious not to discourage Christian entertainment. I think it's a great thing, and we need it. But I do think it's important to draw a line between the two.
And it doesn't have to be hokey and sappy either. It can we really can, let's deal with some of the stuff. I even think about with Headspace with Dr. Mike, how and Darius has his barbershop talk that he does.
Yes.
Bree works on some projects too. I know you and Sean have been, these are our friends, y'all. Y'all are working on different projects as well. And to do those things takes money. Like it takes money. Like it's not like it doesn't take money. And so I love that you said that. And I think Mark Moore said the same thing. Mark's one of my brothers. He said, you know them by their fruit. And I think that that's important. And as we're having this conversation and engaging in that, understand that God does look at the heart. What is the intent? right? What is it that I'm trying to do?
Absolutely.
And recognizing that, there are, and we gotta be careful too, because some people say, well, if that's the case, then you gotta be careful what you buy. Well, I can't. If I'm going to trust that you're listening to the Lord, then I have to trust to the whole process. And so if that
Mhm.
means that you use some of that money that you just earned to get you a nice car or to get a Louis Vuitton, bag, which is one of my goals, and that may sound superficial, but I want one. Like
But
I,
that's
I
what you
want
want.
I want a Louis Vuitton, overnight bag. Like, and that's what I want,
There's
right?
nothing wrong with that. Well,
Yeah.
here's the funny thing. It's not even just wealthy entertainers, but I remember one time I was walking in Denver. We lived in the city, really close to downtown. And so there's lots of people, homeless people, people who are hard on their luck, asking for money. I remember one time a guy asked me for money, and I just felt like the Lord told me to give it to him.
Hmm.
And so I gave it to him. And the person I was walking with said, I don't know why you gave him that money. They're just going to go and buy drugs with it or alcohol. And I thought, I'm not held accountable for what they do with it. I'm held accountable for whether I was obedient to give it.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, if I'm giving to that homeless person or I'm giving to an artist because I believe that they're doing ministry and I want to support it, then I think God honors that. And I think that's really the number one dividing line is where are you looking for your reward to come from? If you're a Christian entertainer, just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean that that's where your focus is. People see it and they say, oh, he drives this car and he does this. That doesn't mean that's where their focus is. They can just afford it. But if where are you looking for your reward? If your reward is in the likes and the money that you generate and the popularity, then that's not really ministry that you're doing. Because a minister of the gospel is their number one concern is God pleased.
Yeah. Yeah. Justin, will you? I'm not saying you need to do this next week, but would you be willing? Yo, I think the consensus is we need you back as a guest host in the future. You're gonna have to come back.
Well,
You're
thank you.
definitely gonna have to come back. Kevin just asked, what church did you minister at in Denver? Because Kevin is in Denver. Yes, he's
Oh,
at
okay.
Flatirons right now, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I actually was a candidate at Flatirons for a period. You remember that, Mike? You remember that journey?
I do.
Which, I developed a great relationship with one of the pastors there. But actually, the church I was at in Denver is called Providence Bible Church. Is in the Northeast Park Hill area. And it was a job that I did that was part church ministry and part nonprofit urban development ministry with the urban development program called Cross Purpose. And so I was there for 5 years.
And that's where he was, and then now, you serve as what role do you actually do at Discovery down in Orlando?
So I'm the worship pastor for our Winter Garden campus. Actually, we'll be there tomorrow if anybody wants to come out to Winter Garden at Discovery Church. And then I'm the next gen worship pastor, which means I'm over the worship for all of our campuses, student and young adult ministries.
That's good, Justin. And one of the things that I like to point out, and he may get mad at me when I do this, but if you are looking for somebody who not only knows how to worship, I mean, he can take you into the throne room, but
Thank you.
also is a clinician that knows how to teach. I'm thinking particularly if you have a praise band or a praise team that you really just kind of you've been trying to get them groomed for something or just want to give them some extra stuff, you want to call this guy. How can they reach you, Justin? What is one of the best ways to reach you?
Oh, wow. Well, probably the best way to reach me is by email because that way I won't be driving and get a text or message and forget. And so my email address is jspann, jspann07 @gmail.com, or you could just find me on Facebook and Instagram. My my Instagram is at JJSpizzle. Please do not judge me for that. I created it during a time when Spizzle was something people were doing. We were adding Izzle to everything, and I just have not gone back to change it. So if you want to find me there, send me a direct message. I would love to, give you some insight if that's all you need, or if there's an opportunity to come out and visit, help you out, I would love to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I already am trying to figure out how to do some things with him with the Bible Institute Learning Center that I run at my church. And y'all, I'm telling you something. The boy is talented. Like, just
Thank
I
you.
didn't even let y'all in on some of the stuff. I told y'all about the gospel choir that I started at Cedarville, and the Lord literally had to pull me out of the way so that He could take it where it needed to go. They produced 2 or 3 CDs.
3.
We went on one international tour to Australia when I was in charge, but he took them to Europe, took them to Australia again twice.
Yeah, we got to sing a Hillsong with Israel Houghton.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's what we're dealing with here. He is the big time. So anyway, no, he is.
I'm just blessed and highly favored, brother.
I know that's right. Hallelujah.
Yes. Oh, don't play with me. Don't play with me.
I'm not going to do it today. Y'all, you know what? We had a good time. Justin, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure you give some love to Latisse, who just celebrated a birthday.
Yes.
And the 3 kids, let's see, Jordan, Darian, and Ethan.
Oh, you got it. Look at you. Okay.
Yeah. But yes, we would do that. I would do that in that. Make sure I get you connected for some Axo stuff. So to that end, everybody, we wish you all of God's many blessings. May the peace that only He can bring reign in your lives. Until we meet again, peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Headspace with Dr. Mike. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to follow us on social media at Headspace DM to continue the dialogue with other Headspacers regarding today's show. Everyone is filling their headspace with something. The question is, what are you filling yours with? Tune in next week.